us to please close this program with prayer. Let's close our eyes.
But casually.
Afternoon, Buffet to Zamokuhle Masondo is in the house, and we are getting ready to kickstart. Where's Zamo? Can you hear me, voice?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. I can hear you.
All right. Ngicela ungilethele video lapho mnganami just to check yonke into ikahle, and then we're gonna be there we go. Wonderful background, yonke into imnandi. We're gonna be starting shortly, 2 seconds, and then I'm back with you guys. All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm speaking, and my name is Ashley Sekel. I'm going to be your host this afternoon, but we are joined today by a phenomenal person, Brother Zamokuhle Masondo. He's not a stranger amongst us, especially those within the Adventist faith. We have had him speak on multiple platforms. And today we've got an interesting topics, guys. I've been trying to download our presentation one our slideshow for today, and if you could just bear with me for a second, I'm going to give it just one more shot because I see that my WhatsApp is now loaded onto my computer, and I just need to figure out where I can save it. Let me put it in pictures. I need a place where I can easily find today's slideshows for me to present to this holy congregation. Facebook, we welcome you guys that are watching us on Facebook. Guys, I think people are still going to be joining in, so please tell your friends that we are now live. Tell everybody that is supposed to be here, that belongs here, that the time to be here is now. I cannot find those presentations that I just downloaded, and here they are, 13th of August, 2022. They are loading shortly, and they are opening, and here they are. They have opened. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you all to 230 Conversations, the place where it's all about thoughts, facilitation, and discussion. Today's announcements are as follows. Please remember to follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are on YouTube at 230 Conversations SDA. Our YouTube page has been growing phenomenally so, and we are eternally grateful to you all that have subscribed. We are also on Facebook. Remember that on Facebook we have the semicolon between the 2 and the 30. So please be sure to join us on Facebook. And on TikTok, we are 230 Conversations. So please follow us there. Instagram, don't forget to follow SDA Advertise. It says today's upcoming program is GVB, but trust me, it's GBV. So that is gender-based violence, induced childhood trauma. And we're going to be having an interesting chat with Uzamo that you're going to be seeing from now. So brace yourself. On the 27th of August, we're going to be talking about unequally yoked dating outside the church. We're going to be having a pastor coming and taking us through that lesson. So be sure to join us. Our lessons are still interesting. We've got an upcoming calendar where we're going to be talking about intercultural dating and marriage. and obviously Unequally Yoked. We've spoken about it on the 3rd of September. We're going deep into theology. I want my church back, a lost war. So come, let's discuss 10th of September, Adventism and the community, redundancy or relevance. 17th of September, the nature of the truth, relative or absolute. And then we're going to be closing off September with music and worship, where we're going to be looking at the past, the present, as well as the future. In a nutshell, what you see there is a disclaimer that says that the views that are shared on this platform are yours. You must always remember that, and it's very, very clear. And maybe it's important that I highlight whilst we are on this, the disclaimer always says that 230 Conversations subscribes to the doctrines of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. But when people are sharing their views and their opinions here, this is a safe space. This is a platform where we allow people to express themselves as their views and their views. And it's a platform where we also interrogate those views. The Seventh-day Adventist Church was born out of the interrogation of doctrine and principles. And it has been a developing movement, not a monument. We are not stuck in one place. We move, we find new truths, we ascribe to those. We find things that purport to be new light and we cut them out. So that is what 230 stands for. So if ever you hear views or opinions being shared here, guys, and you disagree with them, that's fine. You're welcome to do that. And at the end of the day, align yourself with the doctrines that the organization stands for. But do not ever feel that we are going to be endorsing or cutting down, an opportunity for other people to express themselves. That defeats the purpose of our being here. That being said, we do not welcome hate speech. We do not, play the man, not the ball. No, play the ball, not the man. Sorry, play the ball, not the man. So we don't want you to be unnecessarily personal in responding to views that are shared here. And please let us create a space where we can all learn, grow, and develop. For airtime contributions, be sure to contact myself or Brother Mtandazo if you are in need of data. Thank you so much. Those are the announcements for the day. I want to take this opportunity to first open up with a word of prayer and then hand over to Umfowethu Zamo. He's a phenomenal guy. He's a very articulate guy. He's a man of experience. And I have no doubt whatsoever that whatever information is going to be disseminating, it is not going to be abstract, but it's going to be concrete from his own personal experiences and things that he has learned and developed from. So join me now as we open in prayer. And then the next voice that you're going to be hearing would be that of Umfowethu Zamokuhle Masondo. We are praying. Dear Heavenly Father, Siyabonga, thank you so much for the blessed Sabbath day, the beautiful weather, the people that have joined in on the platform, the people that are yet to join in on the platform, the Facebook community, as well as our presenter. We hand over this program to you right now, dear God, and we ask that you might teach us something, dear God, so that when we are done with this segment, we may come out a different people from those that we have entered, having learned a thing or two. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.
Just waiting for my screen to appear. No one can see me, right? Because I can't see myself.
We can definitely see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I pushed something wrong, but yeah, happy Sabbath to everyone that's here. Good afternoon. This is Zamokuhle Masondo, and I'd like to thank the 230 Conversations team for bringing me up here. It's been it's been quite some time, since making this thing happen, for me to come on here. So I'm very appreciative. I'm thankful for every opportunity, that I have to share. The slogan of my organization, Dark Cloud Above Me, is health, happiness, and healing for the African child. So any opportunity I have to spread, health, happiness, and healing, I can do that. And before I begin, I obviously want to also say thank you to the many supportive people in my life. My mother, my sister, who I love very much, even though I'm still my mother's favorite child. Selena is here, one of my good friends, and Tsepo, everywhere I go, whatever platform I get an opportunity to be on, there are people that, follow me, and like they're my tribe. I call them my tribe. There are people that follow me, and I appreciate each one of you that, come in and support me. So to everyone who's also going to watch this later, I appreciate you. So yeah, without wasting any time getting into the program, I'm just going to start by a background of, who I am. At any point, if you don't hear me, if there's some technical issues, please let me know so that I know, to stop and I'm not talking over anything. So yeah, I just need that confirmation. But since I'm not getting anything, I'm guessing that everything is okay. So yeah, my name is Zamokuhle Masondo, as has been said, and I'm a depression and suicide survivor. I'm also a former theology student. I studied theology at Heidelberg College for 4 years. I was doing the pastoral care stream. In Heidelberg, you had 3 different streams. Mine was the pastoral care stream with a bit of psychology. I was there from 2012 to 2015, and in 2015, late 2015, November, very close to graduating, I dropped out of college because of depression, and that's going to link to what we're talking about today, in our topic. So I'm the founder of an organization called Dark Cloud Above Me. Like I said, the vision of Dark Cloud Above Me is health, happiness, and healing for the African child. And I'm also an author of a book called Cape to Soweto, I Can't Breathe, Journeys with Depression, a book which I wrote with a friend of mine called Siamtanda Mkayesa, who runs Dark Cloud Above Me in Cape Town. So I am a mental health activist and mental wellness influencer. And yeah, today I'll just be talking about my journey. And, because it's Women's Month, we found this particular topic, the one to talk about, so yeah. So like I said, I dropped out of college in 2015 because of depression, and now I was having to address the things that caused me to become depressed and caused me to become suicidal. And, it's been a journey ever since then. People ask, have you overcome? It's been a journey to understand my, what has happened, why I was feeling the way I was feeling, and what was the cause, the root cause, when you go to rehab or when you go to therapy, they talk about something called the root. And the root is where everything starts, where the problem starts. Because every time, let's say if you get into therapy and sit into therapy, they're gonna want to get to the root cause. There are many things that are happening. Yes, I dropped out of college. Why did you drop out of college? What was happening? There are things that seem like they were the issue, but they weren't the issue. At the end of the day, my experience with therapy, with self-introspection, with speaking with my family, speaking with friends and the people that will support me, eventually made me come back to the root. And the root, which was what we are addressing today and what we are talking about, which is, our childhood trauma. So how did I come to understand and know that what I was battling with, was childhood trauma? And I'll explain that to you now. I met a good friend of mine by the name of A.B. Peters. He's also an activist, mental health activist, is a celebrity mental health activist. And while we were shooting a documentary, because we're shooting a documentary for some channel, and he wanted to understand my work and where I come from and my background. And what he said to me, or the question he asked me was, Zamo, what is your pain? And he kept asking this question, and I was like, what does he mean? What is my pain? He was like, what is your pain? And he started to talk about his pain. And he started to give it a name, and he said, this is my pain. This is what I call it. And that's when I realized I haven't named my pain, And even then I was a mental health activist. And I was like, in all my time doing mental health activism, I've always been, talking about my story, but I didn't really give my pain a name or understand it, or come to that root until I came to understand that actually the name of my pain is childhood trauma. And the childhood trauma that I experienced was caused by experiencing domestic violence in the home. So I grew up in the home, where I experienced domestic violence. I saw my father beat up my mother. I think I was 6. I remember the day, but I don't remember exactly how old I was. That's what trauma does also, like you lose track of time. But I remember the day like it was yesterday. It wasn't, yeah. And I remember not understanding what was happening. I remember taking ice to my mother, and she was crying, and she has bumps on her face, and the neighbors are called to come and ask my father to come down and I don't understand the chaos that was happening. I think that was the day my life turned around. And it's something that I didn't understand. And it's something that for years I tried to forget, And I think that marked, a critical point in my life that I can never turn back from. And that changed my life forever, because that was the first time, but it continues as the years go by. It continues, and that's why I call myself, I have a series, because I do writing series on social media where I write about mental health related issues. I have a series called My Mother's Protector. And in there, I actually talk about the story, about how I actually became my mother's protector. Because after that incident, and after the many other incidents where I was witnessing this thing happening in our home, I became very protective of my mother, and her needs came first, and I never, that's where the problem comes. How I'm going to link it with my depression, that I shut down as a person in terms of, I didn't talk about my problems anymore. I didn't talk about what I was going through. All I cared about was my mother's safety and that she was protected and that she was well, because I saw her as the victim. At the time, I didn't see myself as the victim. I didn't see myself as affected. I saw her as affected, and I saw her as needing protection, and I protected her. And like I said, like when I would even go to the street, I would want to come home early, in case, because my father used to come home around 4. So I make sure if my father is there, if anything happens, I have to intervene. So I lived that life of having to intervene in fights that were happening since I was young. I remember even one time, woke up, my parents were taking a bath, and in there, a fight broke out. And I remember taking a knife. I don't remember how old I was, taking a knife and confronting my father. And I remember him telling me that he'll kill me. Now, I remember that day, because I knew he meant it. I knew that he would actually kill me. And I remember as a boy, that marked the time. I'm going to link it to something else I'm going to talk about, where I'm going to talk about the day a man attempts to fight his father, something very, and yeah, from that day, I made myself a promise that I'm small now, because it broke me that I can't protect my mother against my father, who also I love, but who is a giant and who by any means, he will easily, defeat me. But I said, one day I'm going to grow up, and one day I'm still a boy. I can't do anything right now. It breaks me to see this happening. But one day I'm going to grow up. And when I grow up, I'll be able to address this, and that actually did happen. That's why I'm saying I'm going to talk about it a bit later. So this was all about explaining, the importance of naming your pain. It's very important to name your pain and to name what it is you're going through. And so with everyone that's online here now in this discussion, all of us have a pain. All of us have something that we're going through, but many of you haven't named it. And I hope that my background to my story helps you identify maybe your pain, because it will get you to your root. Because after I named my pain, I could then identify the root, and I could then identify, this is the place that I need to heal. This is where it hurts. This is where the root is. And so there's a significance, even when I see clients, for mental wellness coaching sessions, I try to get them to name what they're going through. Even with me with depression, like I said, I didn't understand what depression was at the time as a theology student. It was foreign to even be going through such a thing. I thought it was witchcraft, I thought demon possession, whatever it was, until someone told me that this is depression and this is a mental illness. That's when it became okay. It wasn't okay to go through it, and it wasn't okay experiencing it because you didn't know what you were experiencing. And so that's why in my mental health, awareness programs, I go there to make people aware that you are not crazy, or you are not demon possessed, or you're not bewitched, you don't have evil spirit, but this is something that you can name. This is depression, this is bipolar, this is borderline personality disorder, So when people get a diagnosis, okay, I don't diagnose people because I'm not a mental health professional. Like I say, I'm a life coach, mental wellness coach, but in so doing, people can then go seek help and then understand what it is they're going through. That's the importance of naming things, of naming what you're going through. So I came to identify, my pain as childhood trauma, the root of my depression, everything else that happened. Yes, I was in college. Yes, I was hungry with no money. Yes, my father cut me off because eventually we ended up fighting, because of what was happening. Yes, university is hard, and I was in my early 20s, and there's a lot of things that can happen to cause you to be depressed. But at the root of it all was childhood trauma. That was the cause, that was the root of my depression. Everything else are things that can influence, or affect. But that was what was left unattended. Because like I said, I learned to shut down. I wasn't a very expressive person. I didn't cry, I didn't do anything. All I knew that if I walk into the door when I get home, I have to be strong. If I walk into the door, I need to leave my troubles at the door. And when I go out the door, I should leave my troubles also, because people don't have to know. Something that I was very embarrassed about. People shouldn't know at school, that this is happening. My parents separated for a while. And yeah, it was difficult. I remember crying with teachers, teachers who comfort me because we had to move a school, or I was moving away, or living situations were different. So even when I left home, I had to leave all that was happening at home. No one had to know. It was a secret. I was ashamed of what was happening, and that was the life. I learned to shut down. So when I started to go through problems, I didn't believe in opening up. I believed in suffering in silence. I didn't believe in talking about your problems. I'm a man. That's also something. I'm a man. Men don't cry. Men don't talk. Men are not weak. So I believed all of that. And so I want to touch a bit on the day a man attempts to fight his father. So there's a poet by the name of Stephen Willis, if I'm correct. He writes a poem called "The Day a Man Attempts to Fight His Father," and I play that poem a lot because it reminds me of my experience. Of this is something I never wish on any man. If there's a man who's ever had to fight his father in his life, and to this day I love my father, but I had to fight him. I had to fight him because, like I said, ever since I was that boy at 9, when he said, "I'll kill you," and I knew that I couldn't do anything. And I said, one day I'm going to do it. Then eventually I had to stand up for my mother, and I had to, so this is what happened at the last year of my studies, the last semester, the year I dropped out, an incident happened, and this didn't stop. To this day, my father is still abusive, not to my mother because they live separately, but I mean, when he is around her, he still has abusive tendency. And I'm going to talk about living with a narcissist, or having a narcissist in your family, because there's something called a narcissist, and they have certain personalities. And my father is one of those. And that's how I felt, how I came to understand how to deal with him also, to deal with his personality. So yeah, the incident happens at home. I fight with my father. We fought a couple of times. Police were called, we've been called, we have been calling police multiple times. I fought with my father, and I had to go back to school after that. And I remember having nightmares, imagine sleeping and you're having nightmares of fighting him, and he disowned me, felt like I was choosing sides. And that was always the case, even when we were growing up, for those who understand, where if your parents are having a disagreement or some friction in their marriage, they sit both of you down, and your father tells you his side and your mother tells you his side, and you have to choose a side. Who do you side with? Is your mother right? Is your father right? And if you choose your mother's side, then your father's going to say you're choosing your mother's side. If you choose your mother's side, it was constantly that battle. So my father disowned me. Our relationship never the same since then. And like I said, it's about, I came to understand his personality and his disorder as a narcissist. I came to have to heal without having to ask for an apology, but it was up to me to decide then that I need healing, because I think after the last fight we had, which was a couple of years back, the fight was really bad. It was a bad fight. Something that I regret to this day. Anger got the better of me from then. And, I realized I needed healing, because if I didn't heal, I realized I'm going to kill this man. I'm going to go to jail. Police were there, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna have to heal. I can't continue like this. Even though I'm being provoked, even though but I'm going to have to choose what to do. And I decided that I have to heal myself. And I need to do some healing, and I forgave. And I realized I looked at my father and said, okay, even if he's never going to change, I love him, and I forgive him, and I have to heal me. And I can't allow this thing to pull me down my whole life. I've already not graduated because of this. My life lacks direction because of this. I can't continue to, allow it to be what it is. And yeah, ever since then, it's been a journey of healing myself, embracing and I'm protecting men as a brand, and not from all the men I've ever known have disappointed me in my life, but that has made me realize that I'm a man, so I can't hate myself. I don't have to hate men. And it's about now healing myself and ending the cycle. And lastly, to conclude, I'm done now, before we get into the engagement part, is that I think it's sad that this is Women's Month, and on Women's Month, we spend more time talking about, gender-based violence and what we've experienced and the bad part and the abuse that's happening, more than we focus on, the other parts of womanhood that could be positive. It speaks to how dire the situation is. It speaks to, how bad things are in South Africa and in the world. And I think that we need healing. And like I said, that's what my journey has been about. And that's why I'm here today, to talk about the fact that you can heal, because I look at my life right now and I'm doing phenomenal work. I'm reaching out to people, and, I did not allow my story or my trauma to cause me to be a better person, but I allowed it to allow me to reach out to people, to be more compassionate, to be more loving to people, and to understand what other people are going through. And yeah, that's my story in a nutshell. Thank you very much.
Zamo, thank you, Mganami. Short, sweet, straight to the point. Guys, you know how we do it here on 230 Conversations. And I feel like there's more to Zamo's story, but we can only tap into it through the comments and questions that are going to emanate from our participants. So this is the time that I'm going to invite each and every one of you, all 34 of you, to raise your hands, and I will come on a first come, first serve basis. So let us ask Brother Zamokuhle some questions. I have a few questions of my own, but I'm not going to hijack the platform by virtue of being the host. So I'm going to allow you to raise your hand if you want to say something. Happy Sabbath, Nozipo, Happy Sabbath, SK, and Happy Sabbath, T. So guys, feel free to raise your hand. Facebook community, you are more than welcome to post your comments on Facebook, and then we will share them with the speaker live on Zoom. Interesting story there. GBV and the trauma that stems from it and being exposed to it. At this stage, I am not seeing any hand. I just want to quickly check on Facebook whether we've got any questions coming up on Facebook. There we go. Selena, thank you so much for breaking the ice. And I'm going to unmute you, Selena. Please go ahead. Where is this thing now? How do I unmute? Oh, there we go. Selena, please unmute yourself.
Hi guys, happy Sabbath. Zamo, one time I spoke to your dad, right? At the clinic, where we must like our father, your mother's like our mother. So he said to me, I don't know what conversation we're having. So he said to me that you caused this depression. But the thing to me that I didn't get was like, because I know your story for years now, I didn't get was like, why would he think that you caused him to have depression? Because I mean, for me, it's not your fault that he was an abusive man. It's not your fault that he couldn't control his hands and his emotions towards your mother. So I don't understand. Like, I think and I feel that he also he's got a lot of healing to do. It's just my opinion. Yeah.
Do I reply now or?
Not yet, Zamo. I will let you know as soon as we've gathered all the. I'll try and do maybe 3 hands at a time. Nozipo.
Happy Sabbath, guys. Thank you for the presentation. I have a question. So I have a somewhat close cousin of mine who also grew up in a kind of unstable home. So, okay, long story short, she's been in and out of facilities trying to, get rid of depression, for a lack of a better word. So when you speak to her, she's always on some, she's also tried to commit suicide multiple times. And it's frustrating for us who are outside the picture, because when you speak to her, she doesn't really, like what you were saying, she doesn't really know what exactly is wrong with her. She doesn't know how to point it out, but a lot of things have happened around her. So it's probably all those things that have built up and have made her the way she is now. So my question is, as family, how do we help someone like that? Who doesn't know what they are going through, but it's very clear they are going through something, and we are seeing the results of what they are feeling. For example, the suicide attempts, that's also a result of what she's feeling. But then, how do we reach out? How do we get help for her? Because the being committed to rehab centers has not really helped her. It's kind of actually frustrated her to a point of, maybe she's taken 10 steps back even more. So how do we help her? How do we reach out? And if there is there a way of helping her be comfortable in speaking about what happened to her when she was a kid? And there's stuff also that happened to her even after, during her teenage years and early adult years. So how do you reach out to someone? Because this is something that they struggle with on a daily basis. And sometimes it's gotten to a point where we are very intentional about it. Like, we have this group of cousins where today, please check up on her, it's your duty, the next day, then, so that she doesn't feel like she's being, so we're very intentional about it. But then you would speak to her in the morning, and then in the evening she would tell you that she's at hospital, this has happened, she's overdosed or whatever. So is there a way to reach out to people who are suffering from mental issues like that? Thank you.
Thank you for that, Nozipo. There is so there are two comments. I'm going to read one from Zoom first. That is coming from Mfundisi Ukweb. He says that, do you think your story is common in our society, or is yours a unique case? And I suppose, the question really is, should we really be flagging it? Is this a pandemic, or it's a once, in a blue moon occurrence that we just need to be on the lookout for, but we don't need to necessarily, invest much attention and, energy to it? And then there's a question here from Usia Beyond Broken. Says, Zamo, do you think getting counseling earlier in your life would have prevented some of the things you went through? I guess I want to understand what age is appropriate for children who have experienced this kind of trauma to get assistance. Yeah, so the best one is, Zamo, maybe just in case you don't have a pen, we have a question from the first speaker, who has interacted with your dad, and your dad has blamed you for his depression. So it sounds like your dad has also gone through depression, and he's blaming you as the source of that depression. And when you answer that, Zamo, let's keep it rather wide. So I don't know how personal you might want to be. I'm not going to restrict you, but whilst you are at it as well, and the guys on the platform, let us discuss, the possibility of children causing trauma to their parents as well. Is that possible? And then obviously there was a second one from the second speaker that is saying that she wants to help, but she doesn't know how, or at least there's other methods that they've put in place. Is there any other recommendations that you can make? And then the third one from Usia, I'm sure you've read it. What age is appropriate for us to go through for counseling when we suffer from, this sort of trauma?
Okay, no, thank you. So yeah, I'll answer the first one. I'll be very wide. Like I said, I think that I love my father, and I continue to say that a lot. I say it every day. I love him. Like I was at one of the places where I work at, and I came with Dad, my father, to buy dog food, and my friend said, "You look so much like your father," and we do. And my healing has led me to the place where I embraced him and love him. So I think that Yeah, to be honest, it's been about my healing, and he might be right. Maybe I did cause, depression to him. I wouldn't know. Like, I can't really answer that. I think that in my family, depression, I've seen that mental illness runs in my family. You know, my grandmother also had something. And I think it's something that my sister and I actually spoke about, the fact that we've made peace. We've both agreed to forgive our parents because we realized that our parents have been through things. And through things, they've been through things that they, at the time where there was no awareness about mental illness or anything, you know, so it's easy for them to blame anyone. So yes, my father also has his own mental issues. I love him. And, you know, many of us in my family, when I was at the youth congress with my sister, she talked about her experience with mental illness. We talked very openly about with my mother as well and what she experienced as the victim. So everybody experienced something and everybody can blame someone, you know, but for me, I'm not blaming anyone, you know, like I'm just, that is just the story. So that's for the first question. For the second question about, you know, the particular individual who has gone through a similar thing that I go through. So I do offer mental wellness coaching sessions. So you can connect with me. You can get my numbers from Ashley, because since we've gone through something similar, I think that possibly I could assist her. I don't want to go too deep. Yeah, I think you can just be there for her, support her. And, you know, you can also get in touch with me and I can help you, because I do that also, helping people know how to support other people. It's something that I wouldn't want to maybe go in depth in for the sake of time of how you can support it. So get in touch with me. I do help people. So the third question that Umfundisi asked, do you think this is common? This is very common, you know. I know people, I've actually spoken to people, you know, these were not my clients. So this is not breaking any client confidentiality agreement, but I've spoken to people who their mothers, their mothers or their mother was murdered by their father. My mother's still alive. You know, we as a family have come out. We can still talk about it. I know people where, you know, the mother was shot and the father shot them and almost shot them also, you know, wanted to kill everyone. I've heard a friend of mine talk about how he couldn't concentrate. He's one of the people I work with. He couldn't concentrate in school. So it's very common and many men are carrying it. And that's why when we talk about gender-based violence in South Africa and what's causing it is because the cycle is not ending. That's why I talked about healing myself and ending the cycle, you know, because you'd be surprised that people who grew up in such homes beat women today. They feel that they can justify it. They say, yeah, now I understand why my mother used to beat my father, you know. So we have to end the cycle. So it's a very common thing, you know, that happens. And I see it all the time. I can tell you, it's one of the problems that we have in South Africa, that people like me who grew up in homes like that end up, you know, justifying it as reasons to not care about people, to not care about life, to be emotionless. But I used it, you know, to be a compassionate person and to love people. The last one about Sia, would it have helped if I got counseling earlier? All I can say about that is that I hated counseling growing up, you know, like throughout this thing happening, you know, we would go to social workers. My sister would tell you, I hated it at 9 years old. That's why when I get, you know, young boys come into my office and they have to talk, I first ask their mothers, did you tell your son you're bringing them here? You know, and do they know what they're coming to do here? Because I hated it. I remember my mother said, I refused to talk to the social worker. My mother said, we were in another place, and she said, if you don't talk to this woman, then you walk home. There's no taxis. You will leave you. And I had to talk to this woman. And so I think I had a negative impact or negative idea of counseling as a whole. Even like, I just hated people knowing our stuff. Even when families used to come or pastors used to come, I hated it. So I think that maybe counseling would have helped, yes, if it would have been introduced in a positive light, you know, but many times counseling is introduced as something that is an intervention when like someone like Zamokuhle now, he's depressed and suicidal, you know, and then they introduce counseling. But if they introduced it as like something as a package, as this is your mental health, you know, if something inadventurous in the books, they say this is how you take care of your mind, and maybe I would have recognized something, you know, but I want to be honest, even till the day I had to go to counseling at school when I was depressed, I hated it, you know, because of growing up and being forced to go there to talk about my parents' issues. So I think it would have helped. I don't know, but I think if it would have been introduced in a different way, yeah, I think it would have been good. I think I've answered the 4 questions that you gave me now, Ash.
Thanks, brother. I'm going to invite guys, keep on lifting up your hands if you have any questions or comments. And there's a comment here in the chat section from Zandi that says, happy Sabbath, everybody. Happy Sabbath to you, Zandi. She says, I would be interested to know how the situation affected your siblings. Are there personalities that are more inclined to absorbing the traumas more than others? And maybe just to pause it there before I go on to the next comment. I listened to you and your sister actually sharing at one of the conferences that we recently had. And your sister is a phenomenal person. And she's also got a story to tell. And in fact, she's here because she commented on Facebook in response to the comment about your dad. And she says, I think everyone is a victim in their own story. Hence the father said Zamo caused his depression. But please just note that question that, and I remember listening to you and your sister and the manner in which you handled depression and then you handled this trauma issue. You had your own different ways of handling it. And there was, I'm sure that your personalities played a role in the approach that you adopted in handling this. Then there's a story here that says, not a story, sorry, Umfundisi came back in response to your answer to his question about the right age. And he says about it being regular, the regular occurrence. He says, if then this is regular and you couple that with absent fathers plus the effects of a violent psyche in the country, think of apartheid and all of those other things, does this not say that we need a deliberate and concerted effort to reach men and youth in order to change the future? And I think he's coming in with a suggestion that I fear we talk about it and discuss it without proactive action or positive role models. Zamo, I'm going to give that to you. I have an opinion on that as well, but I will come back. I'm just hosting today, so I don't want to run that risk. So I don't see any hands for now. Guys, please pick up your hands. You're making it very awkward for me to host when there's no hands. Unkosazane, Yawamkulisi Atiena, Zamo, I salute you. Thank you for confronting. I salute you for confronting this issue in your life and also being brave to talk about it. Sadly, most men mask their pain, but brokenness is a way of coming out and it destroys their lives and those around them. Zamo, please note that I'm going to take Skumbuzo's hand and then I will hand over to you.
Sure. Can you hear me?
I think the right terminology is happy Sabbath, but sure.
Happy Sabbath. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for the experience shared. Thanks, but this topic it cuts deeper. It cuts very deep because most of us are operating from our childhood traumas, and we have a lot of people in jail because not necessarily that they are bad people, it's just that they reacted to their childhood traumas that ended up hurting other people or that ended up throwing them in jail. Some people they fail in keeping relationships and the society will be like, no, this guy is selfish or this guy is that and all that. And then at the end of the day, the guy is failing or the lady, she's failing to keep a stable relationship. And then we blame the symptom. And then actually we blame the outcome of it. But you will realize that if you dig deeper to the person's how they view life is because of how they grew up. Most of the time, it's just these traumas, So I think the better solution to it, not the better, but one of the solutions to to this, it's to first understand that your brokenness before you relate to other people, because once you try to relate to other people when you haven't healed from your traumas, you haven't fixed things that traumatized you from at your childhood age, you struggle to blend into other people. You will always blame other people, and you might think maybe people hate you, but it'll be because you haven't really healed. I think we should first understand your brokenness and deal with it. If it needs you to go to therapy, do that. And if it needs you to develop a hobby that helps you heal, do that, and that might really help. Thank you.
Bafo, over to you.
Okay, yeah, I just want to do a recap. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the first question, thank you. The question was, how are different personalities affected, by absorbing different traumas, and how me and my sister handled it. Yeah, so number one, my sister is here with me. So everything I do, my sister is there. Okay, if not majority of it. So yeah, she's here for those who are wondering, where's your sister? Because she's just commenting. She's right here. So yeah, and then how our different personalities helped us to, absorb it. Yes, I think that we definitely absorbed it in different ways. But I think it's more of personal. It's not about personality more than it is the way I look at it, from a gender perspective, because my sister is a woman, she's female, I'm male. So I think that we handle it differently because you know how it is, even in the family. We spoke about this, that, your father loves the daughter, and the mother loves the son, and the relationship interlinks like that. The closer relationship is that the mother will have a closer relationship with the son, and the father will have a closer relationship, with the, hey, I forgot now, but you get what I mean. So my sister and my father have always had that close relationship. I remember having a conversation with my sister where she asked me why I hate my father, whatever, and I told her, no, I don't hate him. It's just that from a man perspective, how it scarred me was that in the process of everything happening, I lost respect for my father as a man, not as a father, but as a man, because I felt like what he was doing was not manly, and it will come to the second question that I will answer about how we're healing men because of the thing that's repeating. So I lost respect for my father as a man. So that's why when I fought with him, it was a man-to-man thing, that as a man, this is what I have to do, defend and protect. This is what a man does. A man, even if it's like I was doing the opposite, to say this is what a man should do. A man should not, abuse women, but a man protects women, and that's it was a man thing, So I think that's how it differed, because throughout my sister and my father have had a very loving relationship, and my father and I, even though I loved him, was very distant and a lot of tension because it's a man with a man. When a man has a boy child, like I said, you should be careful, what happens there, because boys and men have a different personality, and if something bothers them, you're going to handle it according to, how it is. So that's how I think, that's how far it goes with the personality. I think it's just how those relationships intertwine. And then the second question was, Umfundi is coming back again, saying that, if this has to do with absentee fathers and, the violence caused by apartheid, how do we change the future? So I didn't have an absent father. My father was there, and that's what people don't understand. People think I was one of the few people in my family with my cousins not knowing where their fathers were. I was the one, I knew my father. I grew up with my father. There was a time where I loved him. I still love him, and he did things for me. And what I can say about how to change the future, like I said, I believe it's about loving ourselves and healing ourselves. I think with even all the things going on, I don't have a negative view about men and manhood, because what I see out there, the men that I see abusing, that's not the representation of manhood. So I believe in upholding, true manhood and what a representation of what a man is. There's a representation of what a man is from a biblical point of view, but I just believe in the positive aspects that have to be promoted. We need real men to stand up and say, this is what represents a man. So that if a man hits a woman, that's not what represents a man. And we change, there are so many forums, I think even in my mental health activism, my target and the people I'm speaking to mostly are men, young Black men, boys, older people, so even as a mental health activist, I'm deliberate about, who I'm talking to. So we have organizations like Brothers of Peace or something in South Africa we need those forums, and we need the conversation, which I'm going to address it to women as well, that it's said that the conversation about men on social media is very negative. About how men are trash, and I understand the justification behind it, and how men are valued based on what they have or whatever. I want to change the conversation and say that I value the brand of manhood, and I think that if we get clear representation example of what manhood is, I think we'll be fine. And then there was the last question that my brother, it sounded more like a comment, so I don't really remember what was said, but I agree with it. And yeah, I think that's as far as the question.
Thanks for it, Arthur.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I just got in late. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we forgive you. Just don't do it again.
All right. So I'll base it on on what I've heard Uzamo and his sister saying in another presentation some weeks or a month ago. I'm not sure. That is how I'm going to respond. So anyway, I want to thank both of them for continuing to make awareness about these important issues. I think it takes a lot of courage for anyone to start opening up about these issues. So trying not to make it a question, but if Zamo has not answered to this one, maybe that's when he can respond. So well, the last point that he mentioned is about how people, like especially men, need to know what the biblical model of manhood is. I wonder how easy or difficult it was for him, because if you're a man, you are generally expected to sort out yourself out. You are not supposed to even to look for help elsewhere. You are supposed to be strong. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to show any weakness. It all, yeah. That is what generally our culture sees as a real man who can handle his issues. So I find that maybe when people start talking about their emotions, how they sought therapy, how they got help, largely in most of our African cultures, a lot of people would say, no, these people are teaching men to be weak or to be feminine. I think that's the other fear that a lot of men have, that when I become vulnerable to another man, and tell that person, no, I have this issue, whether it's my wife who's abusing me, or whether in my past, whether my father was, or my brother, or whoever. We can talk about gender-based violence in the sense of physical violence, but there's also sexual violence, for example. A lot of men could have been molested, sexually molested when they are young, but most of those people will never talk about such things to anyone until they die. Because the moment you say you were sexually abused by another person, or another male, or another female, or whatever, you appear as weak. You appear as someone who asked for it, or you caused it somehow. So it's so scary for a man to open up about their issues to another person, to another man, because in our culture, that doesn't come out right. So, well, maybe in his experience, I'm not so sure whether men are finding it easy to open up about their emotions to him, or what can be done to normalize men opening up about their issues, or even crying if it's necessary, without a man thinking that I've lost my manhood because of being vulnerable or crying. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anna. And as we wait for more hands, or rather invite more hands to come up, before I hand over to you to engage with what Arthur has just said, Umfundisi Ugwebu posted something lapha, and he said, you know, we need to, clearly this thing is, it's a recurring theme, you know, and we need to be seen to be doing something, not only to be seen, but to be actually doing something to break this cycle, which has been ongoing now for a very prolonged time. And I know that we often say, Samo, that we always talk. I want to know though, like, if we are not talking, then what else must be done? Because I fear that the problem that we now have then is that talk has become too cheap, and it shouldn't be, because in a program like this, where and the men that I hear on the platform, including the women, the conclusion of the matter must we should be to say, as in this trauma thing is terrible. I have suffered from it as well, because I'm sure there's many other experiences on this platform, and say, as in, I've also suffered for this thing. It's demonic. Sorry, I'm gonna just use that word. I know there's a comment that came about failing to differentiate between depression and demons, but today we're not really talking about depression. We're talking about trauma that exists out of being exposed to GBV, and how toxic it is, or how toxic it can be. And many of us, some of the decisions that we take, how we react to situations, how we have a lack for patience, how we view women as objects, without even being able to trace that, Mara, when did I become this person? Because I always knew when I saw my father do it to my mom, that this is not the right way of life. But somewhere, somehow, and subconsciously, you have turned into that very, very same person. And the purpose of this discussion ultimately, you know, is to point out that it's unnatural. You know, what you've now accepted as normal in your life is absolutely unnatural. And we need to reverse that, and hope that after this program, when you leave here, you're going to be inspired to be a better man. If you need any further assistance, you know, you reach out, like you were saying, when Nozipo was asking for solutions. We swap numbers with whatever other professionals maybe on the platform, but we need to talk about these things. In fact, we never even spoke about them. And I mean, I wanted to touch on something that Arthur was saying, but I'm going to hand over to Zamo to engage on that. Let's get the hand up if you've got any questions, if you've got any comments. I see Lorraine is giving me the fast forward there, saying I must keep quiet now. So over to you, Zamo.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so to answer the question, what was the question again? Oh, forgot, yes. But and I was even making notes about it regarding, can you please remind me, Ash, what was the first speaker's question?
It wasn't a question, it was more of a general comment from Arthur. So I don't think that there was a specific question, but it was a point just to engage on. Arthur, I know that you're quite long, unless there's something specific out of your you know, submissions that you want him to particularly engage on. If you're still here, Arthur, you can unmute yourself and take us through that. Just reiterate the main issue that you might just want him to engage on.
All right, thank you. Mainly, I was just saying, maybe from his experience in helping people with mental health issues, is he finding that men who are coming to him find it easy to open up about their emotions, maybe compared to women? Because I was just trying to allude to the issue that our culture doesn't encourage us to open up, because we're men, we're supposed to handle our emotions. You know, physical violence, sexual violence, are people finding it easy even to open up about sexual abuse, for example? That was an example that I took. And as well as, that was the first part. If he's able to comment maybe from his experience with meeting people, men struggling with opening up to him. And the second part was more of saying what can be done to encourage men to have a culture of opening up about their emotions, crying if necessary, without any men feeling they are less a man for doing that, or without doubting their masculinity. because they are showing what is traditionally seen as weakness, to cry.
Okay, yeah, I think I get it now. Yeah, I've been reminded. Yes. So I think what I can say is that when it comes to men opening up, and how I think it started with my friends, because I realized that it was very difficult to have the conversations about what I was going through, because when I would tell my friends, this is what I'm going through, and some were not friends, but acquaintances and colleagues, people would say, no, man, you're a man, just be strong, don't give up, you can't do this to your parents. So it was hard to have the conversation in the beginning, but I think that now more than ever, my friends, I'll tell you about my immediate friends. I have friends that if you follow me on Facebook, there are people that, these are people that are in my close circle. One of them is Maud, another one is Sihle, another one is Benny, and these are my male friends. That we've made mental health such an easy conversation to have among us as friends because of what happened to me. And I realized that my friends also have their own issues, and as men, we started to talk about this and started to make each other comfortable. So that's where the conversation started. And I think that, yes, it's men find it easier or find it, they can open up to me. And the reason why is because I'm a man and I understand manhood, so understanding manhood and coming from a perspective of a man, I know how to talk to a man about this. And I know when a man doesn't want to talk, I know when it's not time to talk, but I know how to get to that conversation and to channel it from a male perspective. And I know also how not to push it, and how to accept, some men are different. Some men are set in their ways. They believe certain things about certain things when it comes to mental health, and I know how to live it, but most of my work has been, with young boys, and teenagers, and it is because, if we want to heal the next generation, we need to deal with the ones that's coming. It's very hard to talk to a man that's my age, someone in their late 20s or someone in their 30s, because some of them are already set in their ways, or people older than them, they're going to be like, hi, Wedini, what can you tell us? You're still young, so it's hard. In my experience, it's been harder talking to the older people, but the younger people still have hope, because if I talk to a 6-year-old boy right now, or to a 9-year-old boy, or to a 13-year-old boy, they'll be able to, I still have time with them. I have a chance over the years to influence them and influence the man that they will become, but when I talk to someone who's in their 20s or 30s or 40s, that person is already set in their ways, you know what I mean? And I think in the beginning of my time as a mental wellness coach, like for me, it was difficult to handle issues that had to do with marriage and had to do with people that were older. I was like, no, why do these people even think I can handle such a thing, But I think that there is a way in which we can talk about it, because as a man, I understand things from a man's perspective, and I do believe certain things, about it. And I think that men will open up. Number one, like I said, it's about healing ourselves. We need to understand and talk about this is what manhood is, because from there we can be able to link manhood and mental health. And I commented when 230 had a conversation about manhood also. I think that once like we understand certain things about manhood, then the conversation, because we're not even agreed about manhood per se, so it's difficult to even agree about mental health and now how we're going to get men to open up. So it's a whole conversation that has to happen together, but yeah, that's what I have to say about that particular question for now.
Thank you, Zamo. I've got a couple of comments, and then there is one very personal one that I've just got in my inbox that I'm going to share here without sharing the name. But firstly, let me go on to Facebook. And Asanda, you've been engaging with Asanda there on Facebook, Zamo. And Asanda says, head people. This is a clear example of a broken father/parents raising broken kids, which I think is the African story. For many of us, that's the predicament we find ourselves in. And Asanda then says, what is for Zamo to do is the shadow work. And she defines shadow work as being open and ready to deal and face parts of you that you have suppressed, and remove yourself from being a victim in the present rather than the past. So she says that's the work that's left to do for Zamo or any other person who could be in a similar situation. And then she goes on to say that I think the benefit of shadow work is that so he can first know who he is, and in doing that, he will be able to handle his challenges as they come. Let's all note that our parents have demons that they're dealing with in silence. Have you ever thought of going to counseling with your father? I think that's going to be the question there. Asanda, if you've got the link, it would be great for you to join us. I love the points that you are sharing there on Facebook, and you seem to be having some solutions as well. So please join us on Zoom if it's possible. She also comes in and says that the social ills of our society also stem from our economical standpoint of things. So most men in our society will always handle things based on their source of pain and how these have affected them. The solution still lies in my comment of knowing the importance of doing the shadow work. And when we do, we will start first by understanding that life happens for us and never to us. Sure, that's profound. Life happens for us and not to us. That is Asanda there coming in with some powerful points. And then she, for us and never to us. And then she says, because we don't understand the cycle of life, we will always call each other, both men and women, weak when we come short of what is expected of us in this life journey. Asanda is on fire. And then she says, dear men, in capital letters, it's a letter. You are never too weak. You are never weak by communicating your emotions. I wish you knew that your power comes from within and never outside of yourself. Build the inner man, guys. Build the inner man. And then she's asked me to share the link, so I'm going to do that shortly. Now, as I share, if anybody is on Facebook, could you please just share with Asanda our link? If any of my team members are here, somebody please just post the link to the Zoom. Then there's this, maybe let me see what's happening on Zoom before I get to this one. Nozipo has been sharing a couple of things there. And she says that I think mostly it's about you seeking out help, not easy, but accepting that it is a need and prioritizing getting it. That there's a solution there. It's not an easy solution, but we need to do it. Yolanda then says, I grew up in a similar home. Whenever the preacher would say some men seem good at church, but are lions at home, I would find myself tearing, because that was the situation at home. Family knew about it, and they tried to help where they could. Mom once called the police, but I begged her to break the charges. I was 9 at the time, and I wouldn't say the same today. Fast forward to now, my parents are separated, and I'm so glad my mom is no longer part of the statistics. But I low-key fear men and fear the same happening to me, if not worse. Guys, if you are here and you are reading Yolanda's comment, I think that we need to be the men that break this cycle. We cannot have our peers, women that we are interacting with on these same platforms. So we're going to marry these guys. We're the ones that are dating these guys. And to think that Yolanda has a fear, that she's also going to become a part of that statistic. And if she considers the numbers, chances are high that she's going to become a part of that statistic. Can't we say that there's going to be somebody here that will be able to give Yolanda the type of security that she needs and the happiness that she deserves, and she also makes you happy without, and be able to overcome her childhood traumas? We can't keep on perpetuating these things, guys. It's just not right. I've noticed how it starts with me. I'm in a relationship, and I have to pledge, that I can never allow my girlfriend to go through GBV, and it starts off with me. And that's how we can overturn this thing, from me to you, to the entire 230 conversation, to the churches that we represent, the young people there. Forget about the old guys. Let's get them arrested. Let's get them thrown into prison. Let's start influencing our generation and those that are coming after us to be better people. I think it's possible. I know the devil is fighting and he'll fight it, but with prayer, we definitely can win this battle. And Yolanda says, I've noticed how my younger brother seems to be a violent person, and I fear him doing the same to his woman in future. I've made peace about it. Not sure if we really need counseling though. I think you do, but let's hear what the other guys think. Now here's a comment that came in privately, so I'm not going to share the name. She says, my question is, how do you move on from these traumas? I was raped by my father at a young age. And this is a biological dad, by the way. I was raped by my biological dad at a young age. Hence, I don't like going home. No action was taken until today. We carried on like nothing happened. Today, he treats me like nothing happened. He acts like he cares, but deep down, I'm not okay. Hence, I try by all means to stay happy and never dwell in that moment. And this is a friend of mine. I know this person, guys. This affects me badly since I always seek love from today's gens. And then she mentions the name of the institution that she went to, and there's like a, help that she has sought. Says, I've gone to these guys, and they help. They help not because I see him always when I go home. How do I then move on from that? I want to be anonymous, but I couldn't find the option. Apologies for my text. You can take me in your confidence. Your name is not going to be released. These are the things that we are dealing with, guys, and would be very oblivious to think that, within our circles of influence, these things are non-existent, guys. And we are moving, Zamo, and the problem, and I see Kundo is apologizing there. We are moving from us referencing, where these things are coming from, to becoming the point of reference. And I think that's where the danger is, because before, we'd speak and say, no, I suffered from trauma, I overcame it because, and this is where I got it from. This is what was happening from my dad to my mom, or my uncle to my aunt, or my brother, to his wife, etc., etc. Today, we are becoming those points of reference already today. Within this church, even, the Seventh-day Adventist movement, within a Christian setup, we are becoming points of reference. It's not okay, guys. It's wrong. Our calling is bigger than that. It's possible for us to gain our self-esteem, to do away with the injustices and the wrongs, that were instilled involuntarily on us, by past experiences. But the time has come where we break, those shackles. Today, we need to do that, and then to become better persons. It can't be that when we move out of this platform tomorrow, I hear that Gift is abusing Ash, or Zamo is busy beating up his wife, or emotionally abusing her, or psychologically abusing her. We can't have those things. Sorry, guys. I have very strong opinions on this subject, and for those that know me, I have very, very strong opinions. So I don't want to run that risk. I see Asanda is here. Thank you so much, Sia. You've been our speaker here, and I know that you yourself have been a victim of these things, and you speak openly about it. I want to give you this opportunity to speak to us as well. Sia, I've unmuted you. Okay, you muted again. Let me ask you to unmute.
Okay. Thank you. Because that's where it was easier for me to do. I didn't have the Zoom link. I wanted to speak earlier when somebody was asking if personality plays a role in how you handle this. Are there people that are more susceptible to be depressed than others? And I wanted to make an example between me and my brothers. I'm the only girl at home. I grew up with two brothers. And with their situation at home, I was the one who was more affected than them, or I'm the one who was depressed than none of my brothers have ever been treated for depression. I've been in and out of psychiatric hospitals because of the childhood trauma. So I do believe strongly that personalities have a way of of being influenced or being affected. Certain personalities have a way of being affected more than others. And I guess also that thing of being your mother's protector plays its own role as well towards being depressed and all that. At home, I was the one who was by all means trying to protect my mother from my father. I was the one who told her to pack and leave when I couldn't handle it anymore. And I carried that blame and guilt from my father. Whatever chance he would get, he would remind me of how I have costed him his wife, how I told his wife to leave. And it was my fault. It was not because he was abusing his wife. It was not because he was beating her at every given opportunity. It was my fault because I told her to leave. So I guess carrying that responsibility of protecting her, trying to be the one who's always having her side and all of that led me to being a depressed adult, you know, because now as an adult, that's when I had to find, as Zamo was saying, I had to find the root of my pain. I had to identify what was my pain, and it was childhood trauma. It was gender-based violence at home, which unfortunately had to perpetuate in my life. Like I found myself in the same situation as well. So but yeah, my comment was on that personality thing. I do believe that there are some personalities that tend to be more depressed than others. But on the same note, I wouldn't know if my brothers were depressed, but were not aware that they were depressed and therefore were not treated as I was treated. Maybe I was more privileged than them, living in a city where I have, and having the experiences that I have, and the access that I have towards medical facilities and all of that stuff where I got help. They could have been depressed, but I didn't know. But as far as I know them as their sister, they didn't show the signs as maybe I did. Yeah.
Thank you, Cecilia. Do we have any other hand? I know Asanda is here. Asanda, if you want to say something, please just raise your hand and I'll pick you up. But if there's anybody else that wishes to comment, please lift up your hand. Arthur?
Okay, well, I also wish to make a comment with regards to the personality discussion. I think there's a way in which we have always wanted to say there are some people who are stronger than others. This is mainly because when we look at everyone, let's say we look at a particular family that is going through a very difficult time, what we may immediately observe is that maybe there's one person who seems to be very obviously overwhelmed by the situation in a clear and distinct manner. Maybe we'll say, no, he or she is a weak personality because when they went through that stress, they immediately showed that they were under distress. Then the rest of the people that are not showing any emotions, generally, we might have the impression that they are stronger. Or maybe rather we say they found a way of dealing with the issue. And now I want to say this is not so much of an accurate analysis of the situation. Yes, it's true that our personalities may give us a way of reacting to a situation. Maybe it's more of coping strategies because all of us cope with different stresses differently. Yeah. So someone may find that when they are in distress, the easiest way for them to cope is to break down and open up to someone to say, no, help me out. I need help. But for someone, they feel if I showing weakness at that time, it really disrupts them. So they find that maybe my sister says she had to protect her mom from her dad. And now my deduction from that would say in that process, maybe she concentrated on protecting her mom over attending to her own pain, because at that time within her mind, the crisis was my mom is going through this. So I cannot concentrate on my issues and break down when my mom needs me, you see. So she had to protect her mother for that time. But over time, it meant that her own issues are not being attended to. And all of us have a tipping point where we can accumulate all this stress over a certain period of time and people think we're okay. But there gets to a time when we break down. There's no coping strategies that we can use which can avert the consequence of accumulating all this trauma over a long period of time. So what I would then bring as a message to all of us is, yes, we have different personalities and we have different ways of attending to stressful situations. it's even similar to how people respond to stressors even at school. As maybe exams are coming and the pressure is mounting, you find some people to deal with that, they read throughout the whole night, because for them to read through the whole night makes them assured that at least I'm doing something about my exams, while others may choose to sleep even when there's an exam coming, because to them sleeping, it gives them a source of comfort so that they don't overstress. So we have different ways of dealing with situations. That is true. And if we are saying that is how our personalities differ, I would agree. But I would not agree to say there are some people who are stronger and will never have issues. There's nothing like that. All of us will eventually have issues. You know, personally, let me end with this one. Personally, I come across it as someone who is able maybe to be there for friends when they are having issues. I'm very quick at picking that someone is having an issue and maybe I give advice. And sometimes I even overdo it. But the backside of it is that all these other people who are my friends, they never think I have issues. They never think I need help. So at the moment when you try to reach out to them it appears like, no, why should you be having issues? You are the one who's always helping us. You are the one who's always getting us through issues. So definitely you cannot. So it seems I may not get the same support that I'm giving to them when I need it, because to them my personality comes out as someone who is strong, who is supportive to others. Then they conclude that then I don't have problems. So I'm just saying all of us definitely need help. All of us, of course, when can we get help? It will depend. But let us be aware that we need help. Let us seek it as early as possible. Because if we don't, one day we'll crack up and we'll break down because we didn't seek help early. Thank you.
Thanks, Arthur. Appreciate, very profound. Arthur has been one of our speakers here. And I think, Arthur, what often happens with the kind that you are referring to, and you know what I'm getting from your comment is that personalities do not make you immune to trauma. And I think that the sad thing that often happens to the kind that Arthur is speaking about is that those are the ones that life eventually becomes unbearable. Those are the ones that we eventually bury after they've taken their own lives, because they could not get access to the same support that they were rendering to other people, because they are always seen as strong, you know. So let us, you know, be very wary of that, and that, you know, just because you're a Sangwine does not mean that anything that comes you can easily overcome, or it will not affect you. Good people, as well as Uzamo, can we? There was something that came from Oradil. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I apologize. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I wanted to say that, can we, okay, there's a comment here that came from, just give me a second. Oh, it's a definition of trauma. So like what Arthur was saying. So as Arthur was commenting, the definition of trauma says that trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event, like an accident, rape, or a natural disaster. And for now, we are talking about, what do you call this here? GBV, right? And then it says that trauma can be immediately felt after the event, right? So it says immediately after the event, you could have shock or you could be in denial. That is typical. You could be in shock or you could be in denial. Then it says that longer term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks, strained relationships, and even physical symptoms like headaches or nausea. And it says that it's unpredictable. So the fact that you know, your personality could have tried to deal with it in a, you know, have a certain reaction to it over a prolonged time, these things begin to manifest themselves through unpredictable things, unpredictable emotions, unpredictable flashbacks. We become victims of that. So I don't think that personalities shield you from those long-term effects. I see that Asanda's hand is up, so I'm going to hand over to Asanda. Asanda, please go ahead. And then I'm going to hand over to Zamo immediately thereafter.
Hi X, and hi everyone, and thank you for having me. I'm not sure if what I'm going to say will be adding on what Arthur had said, or it's a totally different point that I'm bringing, but I would like to say both in parenting and in relationships, we can experience the same person differently. So I will take it back here in a setup of siblings where there is a home where there is abuse. Children can experience the same abusive parent differently. And you will find that the abusive parent to me is a very good parent to Usia, who happens to be my sibling. But that does not change the fact that he is an abuser and is abusive to me, whereas he is good to Sia. All these are a presentation of what makes our parent. So the side he chooses or she chooses to embrace, because we do have mothers who are also as abusive as the fathers. So the side that they choose to embrace with each child does not mean that one child is telling lies and the other one is telling the truth. So we can not entirely say that personality says a person from what dealing with abuse or understanding what abuse is, because how we experience our parents is not the same, and how we experience people in relationships is not the same. Okay, I'll move forward from that point. Then the one thing that drew me to this life was that we were talking about men, how men are seen as weak, and how they become abusers, all of that. All these things are just a manifestation of the same traumas that we are now gathered here and talking about. And some of the people who are now abusers and are seen as being weak and all are all victims of the same abuse, maybe earlier in their childhood, or some of them when they've grown up, they've experienced things like a rape, be it it's a woman or it's a man, and then they suppress those feelings and they never get to express them, confront them, own the pain that comes with it, and grow from it. I am going to share this because it also brings a light on men and how us women deal things. I am a victim of, I don't even want to call myself a victim, but it's a language that you guys understand. I am a victor of a rape. I call myself a victor because I had to somehow own some of the things that led to that event. I know we have been taught that when you get raped, it is never your fault. I agree 100% that it was never my fault. But had I understood that you can never counsel a man, then I wouldn't have put myself in that position, number one. And then dealing with depression now after that. I suppressed my feelings. I did not communicate because I was mute for a couple of months. I couldn't speak. Even when I tried, the words were not coming out of my mouth. I now had to understand that it is not all men that are bad, because even during that period where I got pregnant and I had no home to live, most people who supported me and carried me were men and a few women. So I had to face the fact that it is not all men that are like that. And I made sure that in my life journey, I get what the lesson was for me. during the rape, when it happened, after the rape, how I handled things. When I find it out 6 months into pregnancy that I was pregnant because nothing was showing, and to love the child that I now had to bring into this world, not by choice because I had made plans to terminate, but I made a deal with God and I said, if you wanted this child, show me. Do you understand? So it needed me to put myself in a position where I have to face now myself and the things that I have suppressed from my childhood and to the woman that I am now, who is now a mother of a child that I did not plan for. So how I dealt with it made people think that I was strong. I was never strong. But I did not know how to communicate my feelings in a way that shows people my weakness, because my mother had to be a breadwinner and someone who carries everyone at home and bury her own feelings. So the point of reference now that she gave me was that when adversity comes, you stay strong. You do not show your emotions, but you stand until you can feel that whatever it is that we have started, you have finished, and you continue to do that for others. As a result, that is the woman that I am today. With you, men, you feel weak when you communicate your feelings. I feel strong when I communicate my feelings to empower the next person. That's when I am able to stand strong foot. With you guys, you feel weak when you communicate because you have been told that if you communicate your feelings, it makes you weak, of which when they take that voice from you, it makes you not to be able to look for power within yourself, which is why most of you are only powerful when you are on top of a woman, just like the man who raped me. He only felt powerful when he is on top of a woman and feels like he has something to conquer. Little did he know that he can do anything to my body, but he cannot kill the fire within, which is why I was saying to you guys, build the man within. I promise you, if ever you allow people to pour inside of you and let their words build you up, I guarantee you they will come and destroy you with the same words they used to build you up. So what I'm saying is, let the power of you standing, owning who you are, the adversities that you have faced and still are to face, let that power come from within you, because you are power. That is the stature of a man, how God has built you up. You are power, you are glory, you are fire, you are water, you are everything, everything fragile with you, because you do have that side of being feminine inside of you, because you are fathers to daughters. So there has to be that kind of power within you. There has to be that kind of power within you, so you know how to handle me as your partner, how to handle me as your sister. So if the words that build you up comes outside of you, you are going to lose, my brother. So today I speak that let the words that build you up to stand come within you, because that is who you are. Black man, you are power, you are love, you are peace. Black men are peaceful by nature, but because of the things that you eat, I don't want to get to this one, because this is something that I specialize in. Because of the foods that you eat, they render you very much feminine, which is why you are able to stand with me as your woman who is struggling to get her thyroid under control. So her hormonal levels are raving up and down. You stand there with me and you forget your position. Do you understand? So today I am saying to you, let the words that build you to stand up come from within and never outside of yourself. And I want you to know that if you don't have a relationship with any of your siblings because of the fact that they say you are being too sensitive, that Utata was never like this, our mother was never like this, understand that they are speaking their truth, because we can experience our parents but in a different way, even though we come from the same home. It's the same thing in relationships. You might be now a horrible man to the woman that you're dating or the woman that you have been married to. But you get married to me and we become a husband and wife. And the kind of man that I will bring out of you is totally different from the kind of man that the other woman brought out of you. So we need to understand what it is that we are able to cultivate outside of our siblings, of our relationships, our boyfriends, our girlfriends, our wives, and our husbands. These are totally different lines that we like to mix as if they are all they all follow in the same line, of which that is not true. We can experience people in a different way. Even if the six of us, we will experience Asanda differently. So I would like us to come back to ourselves and say, my experiences with my parents are totally different from that of my brother, from that of my sister. And I would like us to understand also that the relationship that I have or I had with Xolani is totally different from a relationship that Xolani will have with Usia. So the only thing that also links personalities to this is that the foundation, the point of a reference. I love Tyrese Gibson about 10 years ago when he said, as parents, when we raise our children in an abusive home or in an abusive relationship, as a man who abuses the mother, ask yourself a question: what point of reference are you leaving for your children? What is it that in love, when the children remember this thing called love, remember you as a mother, as a father in a relationship, what is it that they can bring forth in the current relationship that they have? And my very own motto I like to share with my friends is, children learn by what we do and little with what we say. Because parents, you like to call out children on things that you do the opposite of at home. Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in the world. But I say, be everything that you want your children to have a good reference of. Because we sound like hypocrites when we say, you will never drink, you are not going to drink in my house, but you have a bottle of wine sitting and standing there, giving that child a point of reference that they can indulge when they get a chance. So the minute they are not under your watch, an opportunity presents itself that they can sip on that glass of wine. Why are you mad? Why are you mad as a parent? Because you gave them that point of reference. The fact that they are using it prematurely does not mean anything. It doesn't hold any water. You gave it to them. It's a point of reference they have at the back of your mind, of their minds, and you exposed them at a very tender age. That is why they drink. And then you have the audacity to shout at them when they start dating at a very young age. But you change women and men in front of them. You introduce this one today and that one tomorrow. You are married, but you cheat on their mother, and you have the audacity to do that without care, Nochal. And yet you even bring kids on top of that, so they have siblings outside of the union that you have with their mother. What point of reference is that one? That it is okay to sleep around, have babies, and yet when they do the very same thing, you label them. So that is also in your trauma awareness as a parent, which is why these things manifest themselves even to us as adults. They manifest them in our lives. You are an angry mother. The father does a very small thing. You are quick to call this man weak. You are quick to call this man untrustworthy. Have you forgotten that the words that comes out of your mouth as a woman are powerful? They are actually words that can kill and build, because as much as this is Women's Month, I wish us women can understand that we have two wombs: womb of the spirit and the natural womb that we give and carry kids, babies to come into this world, which is a portal of things that you utter with your words. Because a mistake or understanding that we don't have is that we conceive in the spirit and it gives birth in the womb. Some of you have got crazy periods, or your wives have crazy period pains when they go to Japan, because of the things that they are holding on to. How they speak to you, most of you men fail, because that's how we speak to you. We speak words that kill and never words that build. So I say to both you, women and men that are here today, whatever your partner lacks, call it out as if they were. And you will see that they now have something to look up to. Please don't only do that to your partners. Do that to your children too. Call out things that they lack as if they were, and you will see that they now have something to look up to. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Asanda. Usia is busy claiming you. We are claiming you as well here on 230 Conversations. We are saying that, yeah, thank you so much. That was power, left, right, and center. Zamo, are you still here, Mganam? It's happening, ne?
No, I'm here, man.
She's spitting flames. The chat section is heated up. Somebody just sent me a text on WhatsApp and says, I think we officially have the longest comment on 230 Conversations. And I'm like, yo, and the fact that it's power at every 10.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Asanda. We hope that this is not going to be the last time that you're spending time with us. Boy, take it away.
Okay, I'm just gonna go back. So yeah, I'm just gonna go back to some of the questions that we got. I think it was Zandi who talked about, you know, or Nozip, I'm not sure, but there was one comment about, you know, someone growing up in the similar home that I grew up in, and being worried that their brother is becoming violent. All I can say is that I think that I also fear, I don't fear it now, but I think growing up I also feared that, you know, I would become the same way, you know, and I'm very conscious about how I do things and how I interact with women, because I don't want to repeat the cycle, you know. But I think that it's so easy. People think that just because you grew up in that home, you won't do that. It's actually easy to go that direction, like I said, because of all the bitterness and the hate. It's easy to decide or to say that I understand why my father is justified for having done what he did, So, but I'm very conscious about like ending the cycle. That's why we have to heal ourselves as men. Definitely watch your brother, because the behavior that he's carrying is probably bitterness or hate or things that he hasn't resolved. And it's very easy to come from such a home and to become a perpetrator also. It's a cycle that's repeating that we need to change. And then I think someone asked, how do you heal from trauma? I think, yeah, like I said, I think it was Art, I'm not sure, but I think with trauma, like I said, it has to be deliberate also. It's a decision that you make. And all I can say is that, like I said, I use my trauma, I've been repeating this, I use my trauma to reach out to other people. And that's how I heal on a daily basis. It's a decision, looking at what the unhealed version of me did, which was fight my father. I realized that that's not what a healed person does. A healed person, no matter how much they provoked, they choose to do differently, and to act differently. And I think, yeah, I think Asanda talked about like men speaking up. I think that was one in the comments in the letter where she said men should speak up. And yeah, I promote some of that. I also have a series called Suffering in Silence, that we shouldn't suffer in silence as men. These are dying. When you look at the statistics of suicide, more men commit suicide, but you get a larger majority of women who are diagnosed with depression. And it's because men don't talk. Men go from depression to dead. Women go from depression to talking, to praying, but men go from, something is happening to, to the extreme. So I think I definitely am for the fact that as men, we should not suffer in silence. And I have to also comment on Sia's comment that our stories, me and Sia's story are very different, also her being a mother's protector and being blamed, One of the people commented and said, my father blamed me, and how I like how Sia came in and shared about how the father blames her, and like I said, everyone is a victim in their own story. That's right. I'm also, one thing I said on Twitter the other day is that, yes, there are two sides of a story. I'm telling mine. So I'm telling mine. When I come here, I'm telling mine. And when my father tells his story, he tells his. And yeah, I'm just saying thank you to Sia for bringing that perspective. And I think that's why we're friends, because our stories are so similar. And I think Arthur came in and talked about, different personalities and, how we handle things. I forgot what I was going to say on that. I'm going to end off with, Asanda and everything that she was talking about. I think she said a mouthful. From what I heard, most of what I remember is the powerful thing that she said about how people can experience the same person differently, which is true, which is so true, because like I said, it's even difficult for people outside of, to believe that my father is even capable of such things, because when you see him, he's very sweet. And like I said, this is not about him, but it's about me, and I still love him, and he's still my father to this day, even though we don't see eye to eye. And I think the last thing I'm going to comment on, which Asanda said, was about being strong, and the fact that she wasn't strong when she went through what she went through. And I want to say this also, that it's true that people say you're so strong because of what you've been through, but I don't think it's about strength, but it's about what other choice do I have? It's about alternatives. What other choice do I have besides being strong? What else are I supposed to do? You presented with something, and there's a certain way to do something, but I think it's not always about the fact that people who survive are strong, but we are weak because we cry. We shouldn't push the analogy that you should be strong so much, because sometimes that causes us to break down more, but it's about the fact that some of us were not given a choice. If I am to make it in this life, I had to heal. For me, that didn't feel like a choice. I have to. I can't repeat this. I can't, I have to be. So it's not more about being strong, but it's about the choice and the decision and what you're looking at what you want and saying, okay, this is not, going forward. So yeah, I think I've commented on everything that was said so far.
Thank you, Boza. Cecilia, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you so much. I wanted to comment on the fact that, strong and whatever. I've read a quote which has become one of my favorites, that every strong person that has a story that gave them no choice. So yeah, we didn't have a choice to become the people that we are. We either had to be strong or die. And I want to say that that healing is possible for everyone. like for all of us, healing is possible. It's a matter of decision. What makes people to not heal is because they decide not to heal. It sounds rude, I know, but that's the fact of the matter, that everybody that commits to healing will get healing. Is it easy? No, it's not easy. It's very difficult. It's easy actually to stay angry and depressed and whatnot and wanting to end your life. It's very easy to stay in that way. It's a very difficult choice to choose healing, because it means you have to confront everything that you've been through and not just acknowledge that it's there and it happened, but like really consciously and confront it and commit to say that, look, yes, this happened and this is a journey I'm deciding to take from here going forward. And okay, that the story of father being the abusive one and whatever, or the man being abusive and whatever, it's a common story, I think, amongst a lot of people. And I think in my experience of talking to a lot of people because of the work that I do, I've heard the story like many times, and I found myself cringing when somebody started sharing of their mother being the villain, and it shocked me, like to a point of, there are women like this, because in my mind I've always seen the man as the monster, and then the woman being the one who's doing everything to take care of the children, protect them and whatnot. So when I hear stories of how the mother was bad to this particular person, I was like, oh, so stuff like this happened. So but with all of us, whatever our source of trauma is, healing is possible, whether it was the mother that abused you, or the father, or your husband, or your ex-husband, or whatever, or your partner, or a stranger that decided to rape you or whatever. Healing is possible. We just have to, all of us, to have to commit to take a decision that I want to heal and seek the relevant help towards your healing, be it going for counseling, seeing a psychologist, maybe refer to a psychiatrist, or whatever that you need to do. But all of us, I think I'm challenging that we all have to deal with our childhood traumas, whatever form they were, or we have to, all of us, find a name for our pain, as Zamo was saying earlier. Find a name for your pain and find a way of dealing with it, or healing from it. Otherwise, we are going to be individuals that pass on this to our children and the future generations. So for us to end it now, as the Adventist slogan for the gender-based violence, end it now. For us to end it now with our generation, we have to commit to healing. Otherwise, our children are going to suffer from the same thing, and their children, if we're not ending it now. It takes us to stand up to say, look, I know what life has dealt me with an unfair blow, and here I am. It's not your fault that whatever happened to you, but it is your responsibility to heal. Yeah, I think that's what I want to say, that it's not your fault that you were raped or abused or in whatever way, but it is your responsibility to heal, unfortunately. So you take charge by saying, I am committing to heal. That way you heal your childhood trauma, you end the generational curse, and you heal the future generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. We're concluding the matters for the day. And I just want to thank you all for coming out and, the input that was shared in here. You guys make us who we are, because you are who we are. 230 Conversations is for everybody. This is home. My numbers and Tanda's numbers are on our posters. There's thousands of these posters that are circulating around. If ever you've got a speaker that you would love us to invite, please feel free to text us. Otherwise, on 230 Conversations, just go and drop us an inbox there and, recommend someone. If you've got their numbers, let us know what topic you'd wish them to cover. We are very welcome to those suggestions. Umfowethu Zamo was here today. If there's anybody here that is in need of his numbers, reach out to us and we will be more than happy to share those numbers with you. Please, just as long as I'm abusing, I'm sharing Zamo, busy. He's very busy. So just speak to him for biblical issues and, issues of this nature and nothing else. So at this point in time, I'm going to hand over to Uzamo Indodepisi to conclude for us. Just give us the passing remarks, and then we will close this session in prayer. Then we will open as usual for our free-for-all session where everybody is welcome to unmute themselves, say hello. You might get a boyfriend that is not abusive. You might get a girlfriend that is not abusive. This is the platform to do that. Voit, over to you.
Yeah, I'm very busy, but if she's over 35, then maybe they can talk to me. I'm kidding, man. But yeah, concluding remarks, I'd like to say thank you for the engagement that we've had, right here. Like I'll repeat the same things that I said in the beginning, which is we need to heal ourselves as men. We need to heal ourselves. It's important, and it starts with you. You have to make the decision. No one can make it for you. And like I said, you can reach out to me just to tell you my social. I'm Zamokuhle Masondo on Facebook. It's Prodigal Son on other social media platforms. So I'm on WhatsApp. I'm on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on TikTok. So yeah, definitely I'm very active on social media, creating awareness, so you can definitely get in touch. If you need some of our services, please do get in touch. Yeah, we'll assist with that. Thank you for everyone who tuned in today, and I appreciate the time to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Great deal of thanks to you for making your time to spend this afternoon with us. Our eyes are closed, then we are praying. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share and partake in these painful experiences, not just for the sake of knowing or having information to go and discuss each other's backgrounds and shortfalls, but rather for us to become a better people, dear God. I believe, family, that betterness is only going to begin from our midst, dear Father, and we pray that it might have a snowball effect to making the world a different place, dear Father. So I pledge, especially to all the men on this platform, dear God, that we might become great men, dear Father, good role models to the children that we are going to have. Let it never be that we hear that there was an abusive man here emotionally, verbally, or physically, or even financially, dear God. Let it be that they will never emanate from our midst a story that somebody has fallen victim to such kind of barbaric acts, dear Father. We have had numerous words of affirmation and advices that came through from the various people that were here, including our guest speaker, dear Father. And we plead, dear God, that you might help us to be able to apply these things in our lives, dear Father. And when all is said and done, we give glory to you, for there's none other like you. With thanksgiving, this is our prayer. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. Thank you so much, everybody. This is the opportunity for each and everyone to unmute themselves. I will give you the opportunity to do that just now. If you are on Facebook, we're going to be ending our live stream on Facebook. Kundo had already shared a link there on Facebook. So please click that link if you want to be a part of our After Sins discussion. But otherwise, from myself to you, as well as the rest of the 230 conversations, God bless you and we love you. Facebook live streaming.